Hello FIGGIE fiends and collectors, this is me, Daniel East 1000, back again with another Indiana Jones Adventure Series figure review. Today we're going to have a look at two figures from Wave 2 of this smashing line, none other than Indiana Jones and Helena Shaw from, as it states on the packaging, the new movie. I think it's interesting to talk about these two first in this next lot of reviews, just because this wave's actually more so predominantly based around Temple of Doom, with the Build an Artifact accessory and 3 out of 5 of the characters being from Temple of Doom. But as it's new media, as it's new content, I think it's good to start off with these two because, well, now having seen the film, we have context and I can talk about them a little bit better. It's also really great to have figures around about the time when a new film's out, even though these came out just slightly after the film was released, but nonetheless it's still really nice to have these. Without further ado, let's talk about the film itself. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Yes, the man in the hat is back, and not in the way that some of us may have been expecting. We find our hero probably at what is his lowest point in his life, refined to retirement, done with the days of adventuring and globetrotting. That is though until Helena Shaw, his goddaughter, brings him back into action, discovering the mystery of the Antikythera, Archimedes' dial. Indy's past continues to follow him though, as Jurgen Voller is to track down the Antikythera for his own needs, believing the artifact has the ability for time travel.
But I've been looking for this all my life.
Really tell it was a story that Harrison really wanted to make, not only from interviews but how he portrays the character on screen. The revelations about what's happened between King of the Crystal Skull to the point that we're in Dial of Destiny was really cool, and to be honest there was a couple of little details in shots that I missed out on that really alluded to something that would be mentioned verbally in the film and made a repeat watch, because I saw this twice at the cinema, a joy. First time in IMAX, second time in a standard screen, just because I'd missed out on those points and I wanted to see it again. Mads Mikkelsen absolutely chews every scene that he's in. He is brilliant. And speaking of performances as well, I personally really liked Phoebe Waller-Bridger. I thought she was great. The theme about time, aging was really prominent in the film. Indy doesn't do the typical action stuff that we've seen him do in the previous films. He is an old man. Watching that on screen, watching this character have to do things in a different way, and in some cases struggle through stuff, was a really interesting thing to me at least, and was quite an emotional experience, particularly towards the end, as jaw-dropping as that finale was. Probably even more so than King of the Crystal Skull, and that's without me spoiling anything. I thought the ending was brilliant, by the way. I was a little bit like, I don't know if I'm following this, but yeah. I couldn't word it, I couldn't think. I was just glued to the screen with my jaw agape as to where are they taking me, and I was there for it. And it was really quite emotional, actually, seeing this character that we've known and loved. And really, ultimately, the story was literally about bringing a character back, bringing him back to reality. Yes, he didn't want to be in the situation that he's in, but he did have value and he did have purpose. What more can I say? You know, it's not going to be a film for everyone, but I really feel like that it was made for the fans in mind. I'm curious to hear what you guys think of it, but I really enjoyed it. And that brings me on to the figures themselves. In relation to the film, it makes complete sense why Hasbro haven't gone all in on doing a toy line for Dial of Destiny. Judging from previous sales with King of the Crystal Skull figures, they didn't do too well. And there's been definitely a bit of a reservation in terms of the kids market for Indiana Jones toys, and well indeed in terms of the collector side of things as well. Just because we've got 2 Dial of Destiny figures and then there's another 2 more yet to be released. In the next wave we're getting Jurgen Voller and Ronaldo. It's clear that the audience for a new Indiana Jones film was going to be an older demographic that's grown up with the films. And yeah, it's in hopes that maybe a younger audience will watch it and incite their curiosity to then watch the older films on Disney+. So it makes complete sense why Hasbro haven't fully committed to doing following a solid line, or wave at least, on Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Throwing a couple of characters here and there in a wave makes financial and viable sense, as painful it is for me to say that. But as it stands, let's take a look at these two figures. We've got Indiana Jones himself and Helena Shaw. As always, we'll take a look at the packaging, then the figures themselves. As always, you've got the Indiana Jones Adventure Series logo at the top there, the CGI ugly render of the figures themselves. Of course, you've got that additional notation to say about the new film, the build and artifact notation, some lovely artwork of the characters as well, name of the characters at the very bottom there, and some legal MacGuffle. On the spine of the packagings, you've got some lovely artwork running around there. On Indy's box, you've got him kind of looking very dazed, and the smaller picture is of him fighting at the antiques auction in the hotel. You've also got the plastic packaging free notation at the bottom there. And then on Helena Shaw's, you've got a lovely picture of her again, and her crossing the rope bridge towards the end of the film. And again, that plastic packaging free notation. It's fair to say with both the artwork, it's very, very generic, just because I'm sure they were trying to keep a lot of the spoilers under wraps for the film. On the other side, you've got a rundown of other figures that are available and the build an artifact feature. Once you've bought all the figures within the wave, you can build this really cool skull shrine from Temple of Doom. Of course, you've got more legal MacGuffle at the bottom there, and on the back you've got a rundown of the figures and the accessories that they come with, picture or CGI mock-up of that, and also the figure as well, film that they appear in, character name, and even more legal MacGuffle there as well. Same at the bottom. So that's the packaging out the way and done with. Let's take a look at the figures themselves.
Help me! Archimedes was fascinated by water displacement!
So here we have Indiana Jones and Helena Shaw, both in all their fortune and glory. I thought it would make sense to review these two together just because the accessories that they come with, and namely how Helena's dressed. It pertains to the scene towards the end of the film where they actually enter Archimedes' tomb, doing a spot of grave robbing. So it made sense to me to kill two birds with one stone and do these two together in a review. Particularly in the context, as I've just sort of mentioned, in the fact of the film being out and now having context. So to start off with, let's take a look at the main man himself, Indiana Jones.
Get back!
So just for a tiny bit of comparison, I've brought in the first wave Indy. Naturally, this is Indy where he's a lot younger, and well, here we have him as an old man. As you can see, there's a couple of subtle little differences in terms of both figures, namely in that head sculpt, of which, of course, we've got a kind of older looking Harrison Ford with that grey aged hair. From some angles, the face looks kind of accurate, but in others it's not so much. It's a weird head sculpt, I have to say. Hopefully the camera's sort of portraying that for you guys. But of course you've got his fedora there. I feel like it might be different to this one. Certainly has a vibe to that, where it's different. Definitely though, the jacket itself is different, I want to say. Mainly in the coloration. Just looking at this one, it's a lot darker, and certainly has an element of age to it. The underbody though is different, to me at least. The collar certainly looks a lot thicker compared to the first release Indy. And then the satchel as well, that's a lot chunkier than the other ones. Additionally as well, the legs are different in that these are in a darker brown and this one's a lighter brown. And additionally with this one, he doesn't have a holster, he doesn't have a gun holster, and he also has a different way of the whip attaching onto the belt, because this one has a loop system, whereas this one is actually a peg-on system. So if we go into accessories with this one now, because they're the main differences in terms of those two figures. With this Dial of Destiny Indy, you've got his coiled up whip, of which attaches by this peg-on system, kind of nicely disguised by the jacket. Just pop that off. Of course, you've got the peg hole there. The whip is in a darker brown, a different style compared to the other indies that we've had, and it just attaches by this little peg there. I think Hasbro have done that because there was a couple of complaints about the previous one having issues with it actually staying in place. You've also got his satchel there, like we've mentioned, it's a bit bigger, it's a bit chunkier. And then also he comes with this flashlight, which he does use in the film. And then on the back here, he comes with the backpack, which is a very, very chunky looking thing. It's kind of cool to know you've got the rope there, you've got some clippers or pliers, some kind of tool sticking out. It's a simple accessory, but it's very, very nice, I have to say. Yeah, it looks pretty good when you've got him posed up with that. Something quite cool I noticed. I thought this rope piece was like a solid part to the actual backpack itself, like it's just been painted on. It's not. So as I did a little bit of investigating, you can, I think it's really intended to, but lift the back of the backpack up and you can remove the rope. And it's not really detailed on the packaging that you can do that, but something I've found out, maybe it's a factory error on mine with the fact that they haven't really glued this on quite well. It's an additional accessory, I suppose. You could have Indy holding the rope, and I suppose it just adds some different display options for you potentially. But that's kind of interesting. I don't know if anyone else has noticed that. He definitely kind of has more of an explorer look with these accessories, and that's all the accessories really comes with. It would have been really cool if we got an uncoiled whip, but no, it just comes with some very bog standard adventurer gear. And I think that kind of works in the context of the film in the grand scheme of things. So I'm not too mad that he doesn't come with like guns or anything. And he's an old man. And as we saw in the film, he doesn't really do too much action stuff. And this figure is a great representation of that. You know, I really like to get him in hunched over kind of explorer poses. Like he's carrying that backpack and it's quite weighty. You know, really does look quite cool when you get him all posed up. Something I think that this figure could have come with would have been definitely parts to build up the Archimedes dial, because it is in separate parts. This one could have come with a part to that. And then once you had a couple of the figures like Indy, Helena, Jürgen Voller, you could build it all up. Maybe even the wax Polybius square that he burns in the film to uncover the gold plate with the location of Archimedes' tomb. That would have been cool to see as well. It's also worth noting that Indy comes with the Build an Artifact accessory, and it comes in the form of the top headpiece of the skull, of which is this snake. And it's the first time we've got a snake, so this can double up if you don't want to build the artifact. If you just want in a snake, this is a great way to get one. So yeah, that's pretty cool. It's quite nicely painted. Of course, it's got its mouth agape. And this definitely will double up if you're wanting to display your Raise the Lost Ark Indy on the ground and kind of recreate that pose. That's pretty cool, but its real intention, just as evident by the peg on the bottom, is to sit on top of that skull once you've built it. But alas, it's still a great looking figure. It's a great addition. In terms of his articulation, it's pretty much the same as any other Indy. He has a ball jointed head on a ball hinge, a dumbbell joint in the neck. You've got butterfly joints in the shoulders, ball joints in the shoulders as well, ball joints in the elbows, ball joints in the wrists, ball jointed torso, ball jointed hips, swivels at the tops of the thighs, ball hinged knees, and ball jointed ankles with the rocker joints. So you can get this guy in some really good dynamic poses. I'm really digging the fact that this doesn't come with that many action-packed accessories. It's just very much explorer stuff. So that's Indy. Let's now take a look at his goddaughter, Helena Shaw.
How did you end up like this?
What do you mean? Resourceful, daring, beautiful, self-sufficient!
So here we have Helena Shaw as to how she appears towards the end of the film, looking a little bit more adventurous, in more acclimatised gear for the country that she's now in. Of course, the head sculpt, first and foremost, let's take a look at that, is a really good likeness to Phoebe Waller-Bridger. Looks absolutely fantastic. They've done a really good job on that, I think. The hair as well is just looking really good. It's nice to finally get some more female characters in this lineup. Of course, she's got this white top, which is sort of tied up here. We'll actually just have a look as well If you look on her hand, she's got that ring. The real question is it the one that the mobster that she was engaged to is alluding to?
Helena! No! Helena!
Yeah, kind of a nice little detail there. These what look like kind of riding trousers and fancy boots as well, which are quite cool looking. Not really too much going on around the back there. Just looks like a really, really good figure. In terms of the accessories that she comes with, there's only really two. Naturally, the same sort of flashlight that Indy comes with, and again, that she does use in the film. And of course, the backpack as well, of which is different to Indy's. It's a bit smaller. Of course, you've got this tool hanging out. Rope actually painted on this time, kind of hanging out there with sort of like a clasp on it as well, I suppose. Lots of straps. Just looks very, very cool. And again, has a very different and sort of adventure look. I think they could have included a small pack of playing cards, or even like a couple of cards unfolded that you could have a hold. That would have been pretty neat. Like I said, with the Indy, I think it would have been cool if she came with at least a part to build the Artifact. So then when you had the group of the figures, you could actually build that up. I guess NDAs and spoilers that Hasbro couldn't reveal to us. But additional to note as well though, she does come with the Build an Artifact piece, which is the skull of the Shankara stone shrine. Of course, the snake that Indy comes with would sit on the top there. Of course, if we take a little bit more of a close look at that skull, you've got some really nice paint application on that to make it look stony and worn. Additionally as well, if you look in the eyes and also the nose, you've got sort of like indentations where you can put the Shankara stones as well. So that's very, very cool, and it gives you a bit of an idea as to how big this thing's going to be once you've built it all up. A great looking figure. In terms of articulation, she has a ball jointed head on a ball jointed neck, ball jointed shoulders. I feel like there's butterfly joints in there, but it's quite hindered due to the top that she's wearing. Ball jointed elbows and ball jointed wrists, ball jointed torso, ball jointed hips. Interestingly enough though, no swivels at the tops of the thighs. It's literally just a ball joint, so it can only really kick forward, you can't twist it. She has ball jointed knees, which then I suppose makes up for that, and ball jointed ankles with the rocker joints. That's all the articulation that this figure comes with. So yeah, there's really not a lot to talk about with this figure. It is a great pairing with the Indy though. You can certainly recreate that scene where they're in the caves. Ba, 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 ba. Ba, 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 ba. If you weren't really that much of a fan of the film. The real incentive for them though is mainly so you can get the parts to build up that Build an Artifact piece. But these to me are definitely worth picking up. I think it's a different Indy to add onto your shelf. I think these two together posed up really serve each other quite well. Definitely if you're going to get one, you're probably going to go for Indy because this is how he most classically looks. Just a shame that he didn't come with a whip and some other accessories, and I think that can be said with both the figures really. It would have been really nice to have seen the Artifact parts included with them just for some additional accessories, but nonetheless though, I highly recommend them. Definitely worthy additions to your collection. Let me know what you guys think though. What did you think of the film? And well, this is me, Daniel East 1000, sign out, and thank you very much for watching.